Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick video about psychopaths. I know I've talked about this before, and it's so frustrating and maddening, really, to feel like I'm the only human being, American, who is pointing out this obvious fact. It's so important to understand this medical genetic condition of the brain. It's a personality type. Start off by saying I don't hate psychopaths. I don't judge them. They're not even bad people. And I say that because I have at least two friends who I love deeply. Had many long conversations about lots of topics. They're psychopaths. It's not Hollywood make-believe. They're not as rare as four-leaf clovers. It's fairly common. I estimate, upwards of 5% of the population have this type of brain and personality type. And again, I'm telling you guys, this concept of the establishment, you hear it, and what is it? Well, the establishment is, it's the man, the powers that be, the force of greed and fear that want to make the rules for you, tell you what to do. Wall Street greed, pharmaceutical company greed, the mafia, slavery. So much of our troubled human history is explained by understanding that there is a percentage of the human population that craves power. They lie pathologically. They're arrogant. Many of our politicians, think of most establishment politicians, have this condition. There's a checklist, and please don't just listen to my video and think you're going to be an expert. Just go do some research on it. You probably have met these types of people. I've dated so many women who have been married to or dated a psychopath. One of my friends, her mother was I think killed by a psychopath, and no one talks about it. All you hear is Hollywood that they're like serial killers and crazy. Very few of them are serial killers, and they're not crazy. They are greedy, and I don't say that as an attack. Think of Gordon Gekko character from Wall Street. He makes the case that greed is good, greed works. And a lot of these people that believe in the free hand of capitalism, greed has its place. Greed is a motivating factor. It churns the wheels of progress in industry. These people are industrious. They build things. Again, the monopolists. But greed, unchecked, leads to slavery, child labor, unsafe working conditions, slave wages. All sorts of issues. I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but it frustrates me that we have this debate, capitalism or socialism. It's both, guys. They both have strengths and weaknesses. You want a capitalist system. You want to play on people's greed to go out and earn, accumulate wealth for themselves, but it has to be checked. You need a livable wage. You need to make sure that workers have safe working conditions. That they're not being taken advantage of, that these corporations aren't poisoning our water. That's where socialist spending, taking care of the elderly, people that can't provide for themselves. Social spending, putting people to work. It's balance. That's the key to life, and almost with anything. Getting back to the point at hand, psychopaths. So, my basic checklist is arrogance, right? They think they're better than everyone else. And in one of my many conversations with one of my friends, I made the point that all men and women are created equal. And he challenged me on that point. He said, "Doug, you don't actually think that's true, do you?" And he wasn't messing with me. I said, "Yeah." And I didn't know he was a psychopath at the time we're having this discussion. But he insisted. He said, oh, come on now. No, some of us, there always has to be someone who's in charge. A relationship can't be 50-50. He is you can see he's titillated and turned on by the idea of having a slave to do his bidding. He thinks he's arrogant. Guys, say they're all that way, but that's one of the telltale signs of a psychopath or a narcissist or a sociopath. To me, basically all the same. You're splitting hairs on personality type and traits, but there's a pretty common checklist to go through. Pathological lying. Pathology. It's called a sickness. I've got some ideas about why that. I think psychopaths are convinced that they and the way that they're got that they, you know, create their reality, and which is a lot of truth to that. But so when they think about the past, maybe they recollect and things were greater than they actually were. The room was full. The people loved me because they just feed themselves on this narrative. I think. But the thing is, they're gonna say one thing, make a statement A, at 1 second, and 2 minutes later they say the exact opposite with a straight face. They're not gonna crack. It's like it's a trip. And I've had roommates. They've cheated, and you catch them red-handed. They will not apologize. There's an immaturity there. Again, before I understood this condition, I was shocked. I'm like, dude, I caught you red-handed. Anyone else would want to kick your ass right now. I'm a forgiving person. I'm not violent, but you will stand here and apologize. And this coward hid in his bedroom, wouldn't face me. I was flabbergasted. Pathological lying, the arrogance. They crave power. They, like moths to a flame. Politicians, police. Again, not all of them, but a lot of them. Doctors, they're greedy. They want the fame. I think a lot of actors. So I want to reiterate now, I don't judge them. They're not bad people. They're part of the human family. Until we can forgive them, not forgive them, but understand them and not judge them for how they are, then we can never have an adult conversation about it. They have their place in humanity's story. It's just so frustrating because I know there's experts in this field, and it's not hard to recognize. The guy that co-authored Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, or not co-authored, basically wrote the book supposedly, said, yeah, Trump's a sociopath. He knows. And politics aside, do yourself a life favor. Research this condition because you're going to run into these characters. They know how to manipulate. One point that just came to me is you think of the proliferation, or you hear tales of all the rape, the gay rape in male prison populations. And when when I was going to school, people would talk about the topic of rape and say it's not about sex. It's about power. And I think that's, again, largely explained by psychopathy. Now, these guys in prison aren't gay. It's about power. They get this perverse joy out of making you feel small, making you their bitch or whatever. Sorry to use the word, but stand up to it. Do not bow down. Humanity's story and humanity's folly is not the psychopaths, the tyrants, the establishment. It's everyone else that doesn't stand up to their power. You have the numbers. Stand up to it or get crushed by it. I think almost every war, every tyrant, again, so much of our troubled human history is explained by understanding that there are these characters that they crave power. They are the kings, the tyrants. Hitler, certainly a lot of his inner circle, the Third Reich, his whole inner circle, it's fairly common. Another point I want to make is do not judge humanity by this small few that cause all the problems. I look back at the comedy of George Carlin, and he was such a bitter, I love George Carlin, I understand his bitterness, but he made the mistake I think a lot of us make today, is thinking that humanity sucks, that we're all greedy, selfish pricks. Sounds like I'm judging them. A lot of people are greedy. He who dies with the most toys wins. That's the mantra and the thought process of a psychopath. They want the trophy wife. They want to brag. They want their 20-foot, portrait on the side of the. That's just what they are. Who they are. God bless them. Comedians. They're funny. They're witty. A class clown is oftentimes a psychopath. But back to an earlier point. Do yourself a favor. Understand this condition and look for these people in your life. Do not, get involved romantically, because they'll never treat you as equal. They'll always lie to you. It's pathological. They can't help themselves, for the most part. Bosses. You ever had a lousy boss who was arrogant, kind of a prick? Again, Look at your jobs, the people that crave that, they want that the status. Climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, and step on everyone on the way up. That's a psychopath. So much of our culture, all these TV shows, I mean, not that I watch them, but they're celebrating psychopathy, this pure greed, blind ambition. You know, again, their greed has a role to play, but greed unchecked leads to all sorts of evils. What else can I say about it? I really wanted to write a book about it. There's a million things I want to do before I go. I just feel like it's such an important topic. The establishment, guys, is crushing us. These guys are destroying the planet. It's the establishment. It's not just Trump. It's the fossil fuel lobby, the big agriculture. We need to go vegan. Those two factors are the number one and two causes of climate change. You saw these hurricanes, guys. That's the face of climate change. More severe, more frequent severe weather. People died for it. We have to start talking about it. So I'll wrap it up. That's a long enough video. Share the video. Wish you well. If you've got questions, I'll try to respond. I do a lot of, videos and don't really check on it too often. But if I see your question, I'll try to answer it. Again, I don't judge psychopaths, but they're out there. And humanity really needs to wake up and stop electing these people to lead our countries. We got to pay attention to how our leaders vote. We have to be more involved, engaged in politics and civics. And that's another topic for another video. Signing off. Wish you well. Bye.